thankful for her way these stories hold on to the lifetime we won't get back. I know these rivers carry on. People tend to stick to you after time. Places tend to do the same as we do. This river carries on and on.
Welcome to Kankakee Podcast, where we talk about the people and places of Kankakee County. I'm Jake Lamore, and this episode 13, finds us in a special place, not in the studio. So we are on location for the second time since we've been doing the podcast, and finding myself in the back room, green room of Looney Bin in Bradley. Almost Kankakee at this point. We're like right at that crossing.
It was North Kankakee.
It was North Kankakee, technically.
That photo I shared with you where it had the people standing outside.
Yeah.
That location's exactly where we're sitting. I put the table here on purpose.
Oh, okay. Wow.
As a point of reference. It
And yeah, we'll
looks a little nicer. Than
well, that was so long ago. So I am, like I said, I'm at Looney Bin, and if you're familiar, if you're not familiar, it is on Schuyler. And I'm with the owner, Nick Huffman, and there are just so many things that I'm sure almost everyone has at least heard your name.
Uh-oh.
You know what I mean?
I do.
Because like even this is the most you and I have talked ever. But
and I'm normally pretty quiet, actually. For the most part, people don't realize that, but
except for maybe on social media, right?
Yeah, I realize what I've got to do what I need done, if
Right.
that makes sense.
Yeah.
For whatever reason, people respond to my voice. I get it, so I'd feel bad if I didn't use it.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, it gives me anxiety. Most people don't know that. So if you look at the way the Looney Bin's set up, there's little pockets and cubby holes everywhere. It's not because I think we're a stadium and we need sections. It's because anytime I'm talking to somebody, my toes are bouncing up and down inside my shoes. And it's just a little... Like I was actually telling him you this before, because there's a closet in here with a futon, which looks weird. But...
yeah, like I couldn't tell there was a futon.
I went to
until you
Alan
said so.
Shepard, my fifth grade teacher, put me in a refrigerator box. Justin Sigma and I both in the hallway. I'm talking... The only way
like one of the boxes that the refrigerator comes in?
Yes, because...
Was this punishment?
I'm assuming so, because I actually liked him. The only way we had light was to poke our pencils through the thing. We got let out for PE, lunch, and music, and recess if we were nice.
And that
We'd
would
make noise sometimes in the boxes. So, but because of that, I've got really used to being in small enclosed spaces.
You spent that much time in that
Fifth
box?
grade.
Yeah.
Sure enough.
Yeah.
Yep,
Because you were
Justin and I
always in
both.
trouble?
Well, because I guess he thought I was enough trouble to not let me make more.
God, that's
Justin's an angel, so I don't know. Oddly enough, in senior year of high school, the two of us, okay, there seems to be a pattern here.
great.
We were both kicked out of school completely the week before graduation for separate incidences. So we had to go, or instances, whatever that word I mispronounced is. So we had to come back after graduation to take finals because we had enough credits. I walked in to take mine, and Justin was sitting there, and we just died laughing because how appropriate.
That is super appropriate. I bring it up is just because I remember when I had the first time I heard your name, it was probably from a coworker at the radio station. I don't remember which one, and it could have been even before that. And people just automatically assumed like I knew
Right.
who you were, you know. And I'm like, I I don't know who that is. Who is that? Oh yeah, from the Looney Bin, Nick Huffman. And I'm like, okay, yeah. So, like, I think it's great that we're sitting down because we can finally kind of like present everyone from your mouth. Not like, you know what I mean? From your mouth, and
Sure.
not just like, yeah, well, Nick Huffman did this one time, or he did that one time. And
most of those things are probably somewhat true, if not maybe all the way. You just got to ask the other person why, is all.
yeah.
I mean, I'm normally really, really easy to get along with.
I guess I'm just excited to finally actually talk to you after hearing so many different people just tell me these things, because it's just like you feel like you're almost robbed because you don't know who this person is, but you hear all these things and you're like, well, I don't even know the guy.
See, and I'm equally as excited to be doing this because, like I said in that post when I was talking about coming on the show, I don't know if you realize it or not, but you're literally preserving history, and not to mention going backwards and kind of retro preserving history. I love your attitude towards the show. Kankakee is actually a really great area contrary to what people like to say. It's just kind of like that old adage, you're 10 times more likely to complain than you are to rave. Social media is equal to that. What you read on social media makes the world look 10 times worse than it really is. If you shut off your TV and computer and just enjoy the person you're with, life's usually pretty cool.
Yeah, right. That's exactly what I found too. And that's why, someone will say, hey, did you see the news today? And I'm like, no.
At one point, some years back, the anxiety was getting to me and I was going to leave the area completely. And a girl that has been a friend of mine since we were one, Nicole, I was talking to her on the phone and she says, I've got one thing to say to you before you go. And I said, what's that? And she said, just remember, you beep. Wherever you go, your brain has to go with you. And that hit me like a ton of bricks.
Man, excuse me. That is powerful.
It really was. And I went, oh my God. And if you think about it, I'm not 100% of them, obviously, but a lot of the people who talk negatively, they move. You don't sit there seeing them talk about sunshine and rainbows.
No.
They're still crazy where they live now.
Yes, absolutely. There's always you and I could complain about things all this whole podcast if we chose to. We could complain about all kinds of things if we really wanted to, but at the end of the day, it just does not solve a darn thing.
I'm glad you said that, because I don't mind complaints if they're accompanied with solutions.
Well, that's different.
Other than that, I just don't want to hear it.
Yeah. It has to, I guess, be constructive.
Right.
Complaining.
Or if necessary, destructive.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
That's very true. But, I really appreciate your kind words, Nick. That means a lot.
Your show's great.
Does.
And
thank you.
Like I was telling you, there've been a few times over the years where I've been asked to do something with somebody for this
like
the
try
concept
to do
for the Kankakee area.
And how come
I did not like the attitude towards it, because to me, yes, I did comedy. I make jokes. I'm sarcastic. I don't mean half the things I say. They just crack me up. But that's not what our area needs. We've got a pretty great area. I mean, of all the places I could have been born, I live in the same place as JR's Chicken, for God's sakes. Like, how cool is that?
Yeah, it is. Like, I know there's people from out of town that come just for JR's Chicken. Like,
yeah, and why do they leave? The fact that did not make Letterman's list is a shame.
How did that not make his list? You're absolutely
Came
right.
For JR's, stayed for JR's.
Yeah.
I'd be your size if it weren't for JR's Chicken.
Well, there's so many things we can talk about and cover, but I want to learn about you, and I want everyone else to learn about you, because, like I've said before, I've heard these stories from different people over the years. They tell me tidbits here and there, but I don't really know you, and that's what I want to get get to know right now. So let's start at the very beginning. Where does Nick Huffman? Where was he created? Where did he start?
My parents had this duplex on Country Court, right? I wasn't there, but I guess it was a good night. Sometime
You were there, sort of. You just
sort of.
You just weren't.
I was supposed to be born on the 29th of September. It was the 6th of October, but before that, I wasn't supposed to be born at all. Mom kept having stomach pains, and she would go to the hospital, and they kept calling her a baby and telling her to leave. Oh, you're pregnant. Duh, it hurts, woman. Well, it turns out Miss Pouty had a ruptured appendix.
While she was pregnant?
Yes, and they were told, because it was what's the right word? It was early enough where I shouldn't have made it. So they flat out told my parents there was no chance of me. Let's try to save her.
Mm-hmm. The phone's ringing.
Yeah.
That's okay.
Oh, I thought Beavis got excited. I forgot to mute the phone.
Hey, it's cool. It happens.
So when they went and did surgery and they found me and they found a heartbeat, they still thought there was no way I'd survive.
Do you know how premature you were at this?
I'm not positive. I ended up being born a week late. It was September 29th, and I was born the 6th of October.
Okay, so right. So they were able to keep you in.
Yeah. So.
Okay.
Obviously, whatever's wrong with me brought us here.
It all started with that ruptured.
Yeah, that's how it started. An only child.
Or not a ruptured spleen. You said appendix. No, or did you say spleen? I'm sorry.
Appendix.
It was appendix. Okay.
And I ended up having the same thing in 2004 or 5.
So it kind of runs in your family then.
Apparently.
Yeah.
So there's that. And then I think most people are probably familiar with Tara Sue Huffman, Christopher Meyer, Timothy Buss deal.
Yes. Yeah. That was going on when I was just a very little kid.
And how old are you?
I'm 31.
31. Okay.
So I was like 3 or 4 maybe when that was going on.
When Tara was murdered.
Tara, actually, I don't remember.
That was in 81.
One.
She was my dad's little sister. And my parents worked, and when they went to work, my grandparents watched me.
Wait, Timothy Buss had?
No.
This is something else.
Timothy Buss killed somebody before Christopher Meyer, and that was my dad's little sister.
Okay.
Who was my first friend. That's who I was with every day at my grandparents' house when they watched me. She's the one who taught me how to count. She taught me how to catch frogs and snakes. Sorry, John Hebert. And Mike Rabideau with the purse thing. Yeah, that's where that came from. Blame her. So my first friend, was taken from me in the worst way possible.
How old were you at that time?
I wasn't 2 yet. But the crazy thing is, I have memories of it. That night, and my mom said she has no idea how I can recall this because it's detail for detail. Mom was cool, She wouldn't take a bath with me, but she'd sit on the outside of the tub because she was nice and not weird. But I had these little tubs of little toys, and I'd play with, splashy deals.
Yeah.
I was playing with those, lining them up outside the tub, doing whatever made sense in my little head. And the phone rang. Mom went to answer the phone, which she'd never, ever walked out of the room on me before, but she knew what was going on with Tara, and I did not. And Mom didn't come back. It was the first time I was in the bathtub by myself, and I didn't have her, and I didn't know what was going on, and I was terrified.
I was going to say, you must have been very terrified.
And that's when she got the call that Tara was killed. Timothy Buss, who was the neighborhood kid, not only did he kill her, he found her. So...
See, what year was that?
That was 81 in May.
Okay. See, that's why I'm surprised. I'm just now, I'm literally just now learning about that. I did not know.
He was sentenced to 25 years. He was tried as an adult. Another local guy by the name of Jake Gadbois made a documentary when he was in college called Kankakee Tragedy.
Mm-hmm.
It's on Vimeo. If you watch that, it's like 12 minutes or so. And I'm the first voice in it. He had no idea, though. This is kind of funny that when he was using B-roll footage in the beginning, he was showing Aroma Park because that's where Christopher was abducted from.
Okay.
he shows the river going by some sticks, and you see a fishing line hanging off the thing. That was a night line I used to put out there when I was catfishing that nobody knew about.
Oh.
I saw it on that video, and I laughed so hard that he captured that. That's where I caught my stepson at the time, Austin, and I were out there fishing before school and before work, which I ended up having to call off that day because we went to pull this fish in. Water got in the boat, and the boat sunk at that very location.
Wow. So Tara was how old?
She was 5.
And how old was Timothy?
13.
So he wasn't, I mean, so he was, what? He would have been in his early 20s when he took Timothy? Or when he took Christopher, I mean?
I'm not positive how long he was out. Well, let's figure that 81. The trial would have been 82, 83-ish. Christopher was 94 or 95. So
somewhere in there,
he's in his 20s, yeah.
Yeah.
But
he got sentenced for 25?
25, but at the time, though, he had to do halftime. And, you know, being a good guy, he got out at 50%.
Yeah.
That was a tongue-in-cheek, folks.
Yeah.
The good guy thing.
And I'm sure, like, the reaction when you found out the news about
I'll never forget that day.
Yeah.
Tom Lambert was my best friend as a child, and I'm not sure what we're supposed to say instead of midget, but he was one of those people, and he got a car, and he picked me up in it, and it was the coolest thing ever because he had seat cushions that were raised him up and pedal extenders.
I was gonna say,
so
yeah.
He and I were driving around town listening to that Skee-Lo song. I wish I was a baller, and we went and saw my grandparents, and nothing was wrong. Everything was fine. We left my grandparents' house and went. I lived at 2809 North Osage Drive out by the Bourbonnais Sportsman's Club. So that's about an 8-minute or so drive. We drove there to show my parents. And immediately, Dad goes, "Get in the car." Okay, well, come look at something. Get in the car, boy. Okay, what's going on? Shut up. And I don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
I knew that we were going to Grandma and Grandpa's. I'm like, they're fine. I just left there. Well, we pull up just in time for my Uncle Roger, Dad's brother. I see him come running down the alley. I don't know if he had shoes on, but he had no shirt on. He jumped the fence. They had a chain link fence like it was a hurdle. He came running in, and right behind him, all the news trucks came.
Oh, my God.
So apparently in that time where we left my grandparents' house and went home, so they could see Tommy's car, and we turned down Skee-Lo so Dad didn't yell at us. Is when the news came that's who it was. Now, the family, every single one of them except for me, is going to tell you that they thought that the sketch looked like Timothy Buss. Look up Timothy Buss, look at the sketch. You tell me it does not look like him at all. But I understand why they would think it. You know, there's no way a 13-year-old kid with a round face now looks like a grown man with a long face and a mustache. It's whatever.
So when you saw it, you didn't think it was...
No, I was... At the time, I'd had 3 jobs, one of them being at it was an Amico food station on Kennedy Drive where they'd pump your gas.
I think I remember.
So I was out there pumping gas for everybody, and that was the big talk of the town right then.
Yeah.
Not one time did I hear Timothy Buss's name when everybody was talking about it. But that's who it was. And I ended up going to the trial as much as I could. I was there when he was sentenced. And
I was going to say, did your family have to get involved with that at all?
They didn't have to, but they did.
Mm-hmm.
You know, a lot of it because I think some of them just had nothing better to do.
Well, you kind of wonder if, I mean, I don't, did any of them have to testify just to kind of, okay.
No, because it's a separate crime. They weren't allowed to even bring up the fact that he was a murderer in the trial.
Oh, they weren't. Okay. No. I wasn't sure how that worked because I didn't know if the prosecutor could be like, look, he's got this, you know.
No, but if you're ever on the witness stand, one thing I learned once upon in time is you could never unring a bell. Remember that.
Oh, so what? So, Okay. So you go to back to your grandparents' house with your
Go
dad.
back to my grandparents' house. My grandma had a walker at the time, and hell, I have one now. As funny as that is, I tore my left ACL, but my grandparents were hillbillies. Okay, straight up. She was like the grandma in the Beverly Hillbillies, only she didn't drink, and she would beat the tar out of that woman, given a chance. She'd get in fights in the bingo hall.
Oh my God!
I'm not even kidding. She one night, my great grandma, so my grandpa's mother, jumped up and said she picked up a cast iron skillet, and she said she was going to hit me with that utensil, is what she called it. My grandma jumps out, gets her fist out, and is running at her. No, you will not. Now then, my grandpa comes out of the bathroom naked because he was in the shower. Damn it, Mom, she will too. Knock it off. So grandma was a little rowdy. She was riding a 3-wheeler, and when she was pulling into the garage, her foot caught the garage and it snapped her foot backwards. So she had a broken foot.
Oh, okay.
And so she's out there on her walker. Some of the neighborhood kids, Beth Mayhood, I can still tell you, wearing a camouflage coat, was sitting down on the other side of the fence. I mean, I remember these details very vividly. And it was surreal. The family had to live through it again. You know, immediately when Timothy Buss was a suspect, they hadn't found Chris yet. So some of the family went to go see Micah, which is Christopher's mother. And, you know, then, oh, we're so sorry, blah, blah, blah. And Micah's like, why? You know, he's not dead. But everyone else already knew better. She didn't know who Timothy Buss even was. So, you know, as a kid, I wasn't riding my bike alone anymore. I wasn't allowed in aisles by myself anymore. And I learned at that very early age that you keep people close to you that you love, and you don't do stuff like that, you know? Fast forward to age 12, 13, something like that. My dad was in Canada on a hunting trip during my birthday. Now, his best friend was a guy by the name of Russell Vining, which people around the area might have known, not for anything good. He'd been calling all day, every day. Is Randy there? That's what he sounded like. And no, Russell, he's not back yet. Okay. Well, finally he gets back. We're going to go out for pizza for my birthday. We're going to go to Skinny's up on Route 50.
Oh, yeah, I remember Skinny's.
And on the way, Dad stopped by Russell's shop, which was right behind the Speedway on 50. There was a trailer that sold cars. Dad walks in, over 20 squad cars come in, pulling him out. So now I'm running out of the car to go. You know, Dad's got a look on his face, bug-eyed. I'll never forget it. Like he had no idea what in the world just happened. Well, his best friend, I guess, had got caught with not only with some underage girls, but he beat them half to death. To avoid his own time, he wore a wire and said that he'd do whatever he could to make amends. That was the words that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Russ was one of those people that he gave up. Right?
No, Dad was one of the ones. Yep. So now. And it's not that Dad wasn't guilty of some of those things. It was the fact of how it happened. You know, best friends since childhood. This is the age where you couldn't text to see if your friend was coming over. You actually had to be friends.
Yes.
Which is a whole nother degree of low. So like on Christmas morning, you know, Mom's at work, because without that, we don't have anywhere to live. You know, I remember opening the door sometimes and there were strangers unloading groceries to us that were Dad's friends. But Christmas morning, my friends had called, hey, we got blah, blah, blah. And I'm hurrying them off the phone because all I wanted to do was hear that phone ring so I could talk to my dad. Between those two events, that explains a whole lot of who I am as far as when I care about people. And still to this day, I'd step in front of a bullet for people that don't give a damn whether I live or die, because that's who I am. I won't do to them what they did to me.
There's just no words to describe.
No.
Going from Tara and then so many years. So when did that happen? Oh, you said you were 12, right? You're 12. It was
12 or 13. It was one, one or the other.
and that would have been about what year?
90, early 90s.
Early 90s, yeah. At that point.
Yeah, I'm wanting to say it was 91, but for some reason I hear Dad's voice saying 93, which could just be something else. But I know I got curious recently and thought, oh, you can Google anything. So I Googled Dad's name and Russell's name to see if any of that stuff had come up.
Yeah.
None of Dad's cases were in there, but there were 2 appeals things that were from other people that were arrested in the same thing, Jerry Carricker and Jerry Alexander. And I went to Jerry Carricker's stuff as well because when they'd go to court, they were chained together back in the days where the guys would go to court. But I wasn't worried about Jerry's stuff. I was when I read the appeal thing, I had tears rolling down my cheeks in the most literal sense. Jerry wasn't guilty of anything except maybe, running his mouth a little bit. It was manufacturing an automatic weapon was the big charge. And there was also stolen camera equipment that he was never charged for, that he was sentenced for. I'm going to say that again. He wasn't charged or tried for it, but he was sentenced for it. It's really screwed up. And the appeals thing found, it was warranted, the appeal. But in the process, you heard Jerry at least 50 times say he was not going to commit this crime because he had charges. Russell made him, like when Russell would say things like, "You're doing nothing for me, boy," he was the biggest bully the town's probably ever seen. Jerry was a little older guy. He's being pushed around. I could say that pretty certainly. He basically he did put him in his car, took him to a shop and made him do it. And he was found guilty. My heart sunk. Jerry Carricker should have never been in prison for that.
Yeah.
It was ridiculous.
So what exactly were the official charges on your father?
Oh, man. So these are fun. There were 4 counts of arson, attempted murder on a cop, a gun charge, and solicitation of perjury. The attempted murder on a cop thing didn't occur.
And this was on who again?
Dad.
Yeah.
Yeah, those were
Well, I
his.
mean, like, against, it was you said underage girls?
No, that was all Russell.
That was all Russell.
Yeah, that was Russell.
That's what I'm trying to, yeah.
That.
So what did...
He wasn't a man enough to do his own time, So he wore a wire. Just like his kid.
So how did your dad get stuck with this then?
Instead of doing his own time, he made a trade deal. 9 of his closest friends. Everything you could find that they did wrong, he proved it, got it recorded, etc. But yeah, I just want to say that there was no attempted murder on a cop. That was a charge. There was a situation with one of Dad's friends, Roy Payne, who owned the Looking Glass hair salons, where Bull's Barbecue ended up in Kankakee, and then just a block north of us where Village Grill is. Those were hair salons. Roy was like 5 feet tall, but just littler guy, but he had freakishly big forearms, and there's no one he couldn't beat arm wrestling. He beats this cop arm wrestling, and now it's personal, and the cop plants a gun in his car. So Dad says something about shooting the cop's windows out, and then there it snowballs. So it wasn't... it wasn't as bad as it sounds, is what I'm getting at.
Yeah, I get what you're saying now.
Right. Yeah, Dad hated automatic weapons. Hated them. In fact, that was in one of the things, when one of the appeals things, if you look it up, that they talked about the one Randy had, and then they said, but that he converted, which is the case because he couldn't stand them. So those are only good for one thing, and it's nothing he was about. He liked to hunt and collect. So... But yeah, those 2 things, man, I can't stand people that do their friends dirty.
Yeah.
If you're that person to your friends, who are you to me?
Mm-hmm. Let's go back to I'm curious to how. So what else did you see from your side of when the Christopher and Timothy Buss, the Christopher Meyer and Timothy Buss? What was the next thing you remember from that?
The courtroom stuff. That's when our family met Micah and her kids, and watching them relive it, because even though I remember that in the bathtub thing, I have flash memories of Tara, but nothing. I couldn't tell you stories, So that part didn't come back to me. Watching them go through it, though, was hell. And watching Micah go through it for the first time, there was a day in the courtroom where they showed pictures and described exactly what Christopher went through. I don't remember how many times he was stabbed.
It was 20 or more.
It was.
I want
to say it was like triple that.
It was a lot. That's just all I remember.
The thing was, though, that I got hung up on, and I think she did too, is that there were defensive wounds on the inside of his hands. Man.
I just know the last time I looked up the case on Christopher, and like I said, I can't remember the exact number either, but I'm getting chills up and down my spine right now. Just thinking about it.
So am I.
Just like just psychotic. Like, who in their right mind stabs someone that many times? It's just
that to answer that question, it has to come from a place of pleasure of some kind or power.
Yeah.
And I just don't understand that.
No.
Not at all. On the flip side, because of the things that I just told you, throw me in a room with him and I'll triple it. Because to me, Timothy Buss isn't a person. I don't look at him the same way that I look at you, because he also, with Tara, when they found her right over here in Soldier's Creek, which actually runs underneath this building.
I was going to say, aren't we like right by Soldier's Creek?
Oh, it's probably 30 yards behind us. There's a manhole cover that we could go fishing in.
So they found her not at this part of the creek, but
on the other side of Route 50 by the dump.
Okay.
And when they found her, there were sticks from the yard that were shoved inside her that would penetrate her intestines. So he did that to her as well. He put her in a barrel that he borrowed from the neighbors and put it in a wagon, and pulled the wagon from where he lived over on the 100 block of North Quincy down to the dump, which I believe is 4 blocks. And there were a lot of people, because it was a nice day in May, sitting outside that say they saw the barrel moving, and they never questioned him. Which, if that's the case, I never put a lot of weight in that, because I've met 300 of Tara's best friends, okay? All 400 of them, 300 are liars as far as I'm concerned. So I don't know that they all really saw the barrel moving, but if that's true, she was still alive at that point and died by herself in a creek.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
That's bone chilling.
Yeah. Still to this day, the police, I emceed and booked the Bradley Fire Department's fish fry for as long as at least a decade. I was there early one day and just ordered a Coca-Cola, and I've got the sex offender list pretty well, at least a lot of it memorized by face. One of them goes to walk by me. I set the Coca-Cola down, went and grabbed him, threw him in the alley, and came back. And the fire department's like, "Nick, what are you doing?" Child molester. I'm not going to drink a Coke and look at him. The police had to come and go, "Nick, will you please quit throwing child molesters out of the event?"
Well, I'm sure obviously that stems from your childhood.
Absolutely.
So when was the point in your childhood or adulthood that you started like looking up the sex offender list?
When they had one?
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't know when that was created or how long it's been around, but I would imagine it's been around for some time.
The internet didn't become an available thing to me anyway until high school.
Yeah.
There was a girl in college at Olivet named Jen that I worked with that brought me to Olivet to show me the internet once. Besides that, one science class, Mr. Wright's class, had it. And one day he challenged us to find the weirdest thing we possibly could. Of course, the school parameter settings were on it.
Right, yeah.
But he had a contest, and I remember I found a picture of a midget eating cat poop, and I won. The first time I was allowed to roam free on the internet, it was on Mancow's website, which is funny because...
How fitting.
Right. Hello, crystal ball.
Yeah, how fitting. Well, at that time...
So it was after that. You know, so I was already... I was 17 then, so I was already teenager, legally an adult anyway.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but I'm sure at that point, once those lists were readily available, how much did you?
I'd go looking. I'd look and just see where these guys lived and see where the women hung out. Mm-hmm. Kidding about that.
So, okay, let's get into high school for you.
Yeah.
And kind of go up from there. When did because comedy was what people kind of knew you by first, right? And when did that come into play, or what did you do before that? Because if you're not familiar with Nick, like you do so many different things. Like you're an artist. I'm walking
ADD.
But you're an artist. You're a comedian. You're a bartender. You're a there's so many artistic things bundled into.
Well, in high school, mostly I just kind of did my own thing, which was shop class. Mr. Belk was my favorite teacher, and ADD. I didn't like sitting in class, so he even made so I didn't have to go to study hall on the other half of the lunch hour, a fake job for me that was garbage supervisor or garbage monitor, which basically just meant hang out with Mr. Belk and do that. Well, I'd go to wood shop, and then 5 minutes before the end of the hour, he'd write me a pass so I didn't get in trouble, and I'd go right back to wood shop.
Yeah,
I'd make go-karts, do whatever. Because for some reason he liked me. Unlike some of the other teachers. The 5th grade wasn't the only hallway instance. 6th and 7th or 7th and 8th. Whatever 2 years I had Mr. Pence in upper grade. I walked... Oh, okay. It must have just been 7th grade year because I remember walking in the door the first day and he pointed to the hallway. I was like, really? But that hallway had a...
Wait, did you go to Bradley Bourbonnais? Okay.
I went to Bourbonnais. Right. The hallway had a commons area that had a desk that was sitting on a little stage that was probably 8 inches high or so. So that was my desk. It was better in the refrigerator box.
I was going to say a little bit of an upgrade there.
It was funny because, for 42 minutes a day, I'd sit out there by myself and I was on a stage. So I'd pretend there was a crowd and just do random stuff because I didn't have anything else to do. I didn't always have a thing for comedy. I guess I loved Sam Kinison. I used to watch him through the blurry lines on HBO.
As we all watch many things through those blurred lines on HBO.
I wasn't going to say it. But kind of like they used to interrupt wrestling once every few months with the dog show. They got to interrupt that stuff with Sam Kinison. It was kind of like the adult dog interruption. So it was nothing that I really set out to do. I worked at /ran / got demoted / promoted from Rent-A-Center for like 9 years. And in that period, I worked with a guy they call Timo, who started producing comedy shows. And I was married at the time, owned a photography company. And to him, videography and photography is the same thing, even though I tried to explain to him it was not. But since he was doing these shows, he asked if I would mind taping them once a month for him. Well, the wife and I had just had twins that were way early, and I'm the one who discovered she was pregnant. She didn't notice.
How does that work? You literally said, "Look, you're pregnant." No, I'm not.
The Rent-A-Center district manager had this really dumb idea that we all had to black out our windows and have a special invite sale with music and blah, blah, blah. So there's a fog machine. It's really stupid, but it was Halloween.
Okay.
And I'm watching people come through this fog, And in my head, I'm like, man, that'd be hot if she came up here wearing this thing. So I said that to her, and she did. And when she came through there, something didn't, I don't know. What I thought was going to walk through the fog wasn't walk through the fog. It wasn't. I mean, I wasn't saying like or nothing like that, but it was something wasn't right.
Yeah.
So it bothered me.
Mm-hmm.
The next night, I got off work, went to Kmart when that was still a thing, and
good old Kmart.
Bought a pregnancy test. I went home and said, "Take this." She starts flipping out, and I go, "I'll let you flip out on me if I'm wrong." So she doesn't come out, and then goes, "Well, according to this, I am." Well, okay, so now it's November 1st. She was so big by the third week in November that we called my cousin, who was voted by local people as the best gyno in the area. Yay, her, Dr. Goldfein. And got her in.
I've met her.
Yep, she got her in really quick for an ultrasound. And I'm just kind of sitting there going, here we go. How in the hell? And while the girl's wanting her, and she looks over at the girl doing the ultrasound and goes, "Did I see a penis?" And just so nonchalant, the girl's, "Yeah, on that one." And she goes, "On that one?" And she looks over and puts up the number 2. And she started screaming and calling God everything but Christian,
Oh, my
which got me laughing so hard because I just knew how terrible that was going to be.
Yeah. So your twins are boy and girl?
They're identical boys.
Oh, they're identical boys. Okay.
Yup, which is payback for things.
I knew you had twins, but I couldn't remember.
They had heart monitors. So for the first year, not only are we lugging around twins that wrestle in their own poop when they're asleep. Why that's a thing, I don't know. They hadn't even heard of Gigi Allen at the time. Hopefully they still have not. But you've got these 7-pound things. It sucked.
So the twins, they had a heart condition of some kind, or what?
You had to ask that, didn't you? Because we accidentally tried to bring the wrong twin for heart surgery.
Oh my god!
We got halfway to the hospital up north, and Nicole, the smart Nicole's apparently like Charlie from Charlie's Angels. She's the one who said that stuff to me on the phone earlier that made me stay here. She's like, "Guys, you got the wrong kid." Wait, what? And we looked and went, "Oh no." So, oops. Yeah, they only one of them had to have the hole in his heart filled, but she had already had 2 kids. I had 1, so now there's 5 kids, an 890 square foot house, and no date nights. It was awful. So the comedy thing, it was a reason to go do something once a month. But now, again, Sam Kinison is a child. My sense of humor is so screwed. Like, it belongs on Epstein's Island. It is so bad. It's not. My sense of humor is not okay.
That is a statement there.
It's bad, but
belongs on Epstein's Island.
But context. I mean, the worst things you go through.
No, it's
what it is.
I mean, it absolutely matches up with what you've experienced.
I mean, I didn't think the comics were mostly all that funny, but because Timo, he wasn't a bad comic. He's great, man, but more PG.
Mm-hmm.
And the wife, same sense of humor. So now I've got to listen to her about going once a month. It was counterproductive. So I start muttering or uttering things like, just throw me off there. It couldn't be this bad. Or, I don't know if I can this month, man. My cat that I'm going to get's cousin is sick. I couldn't. Oh, come on, man. I need you. And I'd go anyway. Finally, he got tired of my mouth and said, "All right, next show I'll give you 5 or 10 minutes." And 10, I can't even say this out loud without even thinking I'm making it up, but it's true. I could show it to you. Had the #1 comedy record in the country on Amazon 10 months later.
What year was this?
2010. I started in 2009, but in May of 2010, it knocked Daniel Tosh out of that #1 spot for like 4 seconds, maybe, but enough to count.
He's He was pretty big at that point.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, that was kind of like his
I'll
peak,
never
I
forget,
feel like.
and this is one of those things that to me is extra funny now, but I didn't care about at the time. I'll tell people, I'll go, I woke up one day with Bill Cosby on top of me, and they'll be like, "What?" And then I'll show them the things where my album slid into the top 10. I was at number 8, and Cosby was at number 7.
Oh
I still have that.
Oh god.
I didn't have that joke, unfortunately, at the time.
At the time, yeah.
No, it's not topical at all.
No, it's not. It's not.
Sure enough, I remember I was driving the bus, and I had my phone with me that I legally wasn't allowed to have. And what they going to do, fire me again?
You were driving the bus?
Yeah.
Wait, it's like a school bus? Or
no, the short bus for Metro.
Sure. Oh, okay. I didn't know you worked for Metro.
Sure enough.
Okay.
After Rent-A-Center said, "We're done with you."
Uh-huh. So
yeah, somebody was stole a whole lot of stuff, like a truckload of TVs, and I kept my mouth shut. Wonder where that came from. Russell.
I wonder.
Right. So, oh well.
Okay.
And at the time, that was the kind of job where you work so many hours you can't find a new job.
Yeah.
I knew it was a blessing coming if I just kept my mouth shut.
Yeah.
So my dad has this great idea. We're behind a bus one day, and he goes, Nick Morris, which is the guy who always had if we needed to pick locks, he always had a lock picking deal. And he was the first guy I knew who had a VCR, which meant he was cool because I got to watch WrestleMania 1 when it came out.
There you go.
Yeah. The dad borrowed how cool is that? My dad went and borrowed his friend's VCR so I could watch WrestleMania.
Yeah.
Right. Was a supervisor. He said, "You ought to go work with Nick. Union job." And I went, "Yeah." He didn't tell me it was the worst union on earth and all this crap. Like, it sounded really good, but the job was so much fun. I got to work with handicapped folks and old folks. Now, when I say I drove a short bus, it is exactly what you're picturing.
Yeah.
I'd bring folks to KCTC for work and pick them up later, which I'm glad we got into this because a lot of the jokes I've made over time, people get so mad. But let me tell you where these jokes came from.
What? Oh,
when I was doing comedy, one thing right in the beginning that I said was I was not going to talk about them. Because
that you were working for.
Well, no, it wasn't that. I mean, I don't care about work. That sounds bad, but
no, I
was still going to do my thing.
But you had respect for them. You liked them. Okay.
Oh my god, yeah! I still talk to some of them. They're awesome. One Leg Craig, I used to bring with me to shows on the road.
Okay,
he's on one of my albums. I'd bring him up. It's One Leg Craig. It's my buddy One Leg Craig. He's 3/4 black, not all the way because of the one leg. That's how I would intro him.
Yeah.
But I never used to talk about him until a couple of them came to me and asked me why I didn't. And I was like, well, because I love you guys, man. I don't want to do that to you. And they're like, you don't get it. We want to be included. That's the whole problem.
We want to be grilled.
And I went, oh my God. I never occurred to me that I was kind of being a piece of garbage by not including them.
Yeah, I guess that wouldn't occur to me either. My thought process probably would have been the same as yours,
Which spoke volumes to me. Like I was trying to protect somebody that didn't want it.
Yeah.
Which in comedy, the only issues are, people that have ever made a big stink of anything I said all have one thing in common. Middle-aged white women. The world's protective species. Like Karen.
All the Karens.
Dude, Karen. Oh my God. Karen will protect everyone who doesn't need it. I don't get it, but oh well.
So at that point, you're like, okay. So that kind of opened up another pool source of material, right?
It really did. But the thing that I learned by watching Sam Kinison, I can't say I learned it from him because I've never met him and there was no video, but what I noticed is I always felt guilty when I laughed. And and it makes a laugh that you'll recall later. Case in point, you've been to comedy shows, I'm sure.
I've actually never been to a comedy show, believe it or not.
It's common if you go there to, let's say that you and I work at a place that has a water cooler and a file cabinet and a fax machine and, that little corner of hell in our office. And we run into each other there on Monday. Hey, Jake, how you doing? Pretty good. How's your weekend? Not so bad. Wife and I went to a comedy show. Yeah, how was it? No, it was good. Was it? Yeah. What'd they say? You can never recall unless that joke hit you somewhere. I guarantee later you're going to go, Epstein's Island? God damn, Nick. You know what I mean? But that is how I learned how to write. So I've always written from the context of I want to say something that hits you where you feel that guilt that you shouldn't have just laughed.
Yeah. And you like don't want to share it because
right, but you remember it. Like Sam Kinison, I don't know if you've ever watched him or not.
I have not.
Please, if you want to splice this bit in here, it's so worth it. There's a world hunger bit that he did back in the 80s. Everybody who's hearing this right now, just stop, watch the world hunger bit, come back. If he doesn't, that is classic, exactly what I'm talking about. I think it's still probably the best comedy bit ever written. And it's hard to not laugh. And it's about starving children. So,
a comedy bit about starving children. That I definitely have to go listen to that.
Sam grew up in Peoria. He was a preacher. Actually, he's the son of a preacher's kid. So he was a big guy, and he was really, really loud. Because he learned how to preach the gospel. You know what I mean? Yeah. And that translated on stage. But so, I mean, he believed in God till the day he died, even though he went way down that rock and roll path. Mm-hmm. But he told jokes that the midnight comedy shows actually became a thing because of him, the late shows. Because out in LA, what would happen is the comics would all do their thing, and nobody ever went to those late shows. Well, when you work that dark, people don't put you on the regular shows, so they would throw Sam on the midnight show. There became such a buzz and a word of mouth about him. He became a comic immediately because they respected what it was he did. And the room was full of the most important opinions really there were, and his career shot through the roof. That's how I learned how to write jokes. Not everybody likes it, but some people love it.
Well, I mean,
they're both wrong.
I actually need to listen to one of your comedy albums. I haven't. No, I want to. I really do.
They when the whole point there was a group of us who did comedy, and because of that exact thing that I just said, that's still a stigma. Clean comedy sells. Well, we thought, why don't we get the 5 or 6 worst of us in the Midwest, put us in a package, and sell the package? There we go. And it worked. So we were intentionally telling the worst jokes possible. It's not that we believed it or cared about it. It was what we did.
Yeah.
Well, once, and this is going to come back to the Christopher Meyer deal in Terra, when we reopened that safety center, I went, there's a lot of Karens in this world. And I don't like...
They were all there.
I mean, I have an Aunt Karen. She's all right. I'm trying to think of another one, but I'm having a really difficult time. I had those albums pulled immediately because I didn't want to be doing something good. And now all of a sudden, you're running for president and you're grabbing stuff or whatever. I just...
And you're talking about the safety center in Burbank,
correct?
Right? Just to clarify.
Yep, okay. Correct.
So it was like, it was going to that, reopening that you were kind of like, right. I should probably pull these.
Right, because I said, we're going to do some good stuff. And the last thing that I want is all of a sudden Karen's all blame Canada. Canada.
Right,
and now all of a sudden the safety center is not going to open because I told some joke about something I didn't even care about.
Yeah.
the racist thing got thrown at me a lot, which I hated because if you actually looked at any of those jokes, the joke was always poking fun at white people for being racist in some context. It was never,
So how did they peg you as a racist? What exactly? Like, give me an example.
If I say that you have a black phone, I'm saying that because I see your phone.
Mm-hmm.
Just because I said the word black, all of a sudden people's ears are going to shut off and they're going to tunnel vision into that.
Mm-hmm.
I'll give you an example of one of them, and I'll break down how this works.
Okay.
Once Obama became president, I'd start off and say, racism in this country is out of control, people. Out of control. There's I just saw that the president has to have inch-thick bulletproof glass, protecting his motorcade. Just because he's black doesn't mean he's going to shoot anybody, you racist pieces of... the joke was always about white people being racist.
Yeah.
Or something along the lines of that. But it would get twisted.
I think that's hilarious, but that's just me.
It is hilarious.
But now, someone might be judging me for saying...
And I really like Obama. He lifted a no-fly zone for me once. That's a true story.
Wait, he what for you?
I swear that there was probably 50 witnesses. Hopefully some of them are going to hear this and will comment, yes, I was in the room. When my friend Jessica was missing and we were looking for her, somebody had, I can't take credit for it. Somebody had the idea to run a helicopter. Well, who's got a helicopter? Put your pants on, Dave. No, I'm kidding. So Maggie, that worked for 106.5.
Oh, Maggie Mayfield? Okay.
She knew somebody that had a helicopter from up north. She gave me the contact info. And man, I'm not gonna lie. Like, I didn't smoke pot or anything at all. I sure did then, because the anxiety and whatnot was so... Well, I found out that if you get Nick stoned, Nick, it's ridiculous. So I'm on the phone with the helicopter pilot who says, we'd really like to help, but we can't. The President Obama's in town and there's a no-fly zone. Well, how do you fix that? That would be the White House, sir. Well, why don't we talk to the White House? That would have to go through air traffic control. Well, why aren't they on the phone? So I'm talking to air traffic control. And I got to pause this to tell you I only talk on speakerphone for the most part. The first iPhone I ever had cracked, and the earpiece part was exposed at a place where if it touched my ear, it would shock me.
Oh.
Kind of like if you were to put a flea in a jar and put a lid on it, it would only jump as high as the lid, and eventually you remove the lid, it never jumps out. Same thing. Still to this day, I talk on speaker for the most part. So I'm talking on speaker in front of, all these people that are volunteering to help that are going, is he going to get the helicopter or not? So they're all hung up on this. Now all of a sudden we're patched through to the White House.
Oh my God.
And, it wasn't 10 minutes. They came back and says, President Obama approves. Now, and the pilot's on there as well. We're going to give you directions that include, the speed, it was the path of travel, the speed, and the altitude. And if any of those three are breached, you will be shot down. Well, so we ended up getting a helicopter to search for her, but we had to get a presidential favor to do it, and we got it. And so thanks, Obama.
And then, yeah, thanks, Obama. But so what's with this Jessica story then? What happened with her? Why was she missing at this time?
Valentine's Day, she left. It was called Whatever at the time.
Where that's on East
360 Southeast Avenue.
Yeah.
Is where that is. It's where Misfits is now. It's where, wait for it, 360 was before then. See where the name came from?
Yeah.
You're welcome, Gigi.
Well, I remember when it was the Whatever. I remember that.
Yeah, she had left, and that Valentine's Day, the roads were ice. It was cold. And when she left, she was parked directly across the street from there, so her vehicle was facing the river. She drove straight into it.
Wait, when was that? Because I think I remember that now.
This would have been 5 or 6 years ago.
Yeah.
To me, everything feels like the other
Yeah,
day.
I
in my
know it
head.
really
I have
does,
no
but
concept
I
of time
absolutely
at all.
remember that now. Yeah, and they looked everywhere, obviously.
Oh
So
man, well the thing was, due to safety, the police and fire couldn't invest any resources, for the safety of officers and whatnot.
what? And wasn't the ice? There was a ton of ice in the river at the time, right?
I know that particular day, I don't know because the conditions fluctuated, but in the time there was.
Yeah.
And I spent 2 days. The first day wearing shorts, which was dumb, but hi, I'm Nick, over at right behind the gas station by the dam. Lanny's bait shop used to be next to it. Just standing there waiting for that car to come out of the water. Now, when I'm standing there, I'm looking kind of diagonally across the river, and there's a park district building that's right there. And at the time,
Yep.
Roy Collins, and I don't care what anybody says, I love that man, was in charge of the park district. I called him and said, hey, there's a lot of folks out here in the cold. Do you mind if that building's not being used I said, no, brother, go ahead. So we were able to get somewhere warm thanks to him. And we just kind of moved in. And after the car came up and she wasn't in it, it was crazy because we're all standing there, and I noticed they're all kind of looking at me like, now what? And I was like, wait a minute. Oh, no.
Yeah. I do remember that they recovered the car before they recovered her.
Right. And that's how it became, again, for whatever reason, people listen when I talk, and I noticed the eyeballs were looking, and I was like, shoot. That means this, doesn't it? I mean, I'm here because I don't leave my friends behind. It seems to be a pattern here, Little did that group know, Detective Skelly and I would meet outside of there, and he'd keep me updated, not giving me info I shouldn't have or anything, just you can't trust it with everyone.
Right.
He had it pinpointed when she was going to come up. Now there was always the chance because you don't know that she'd gone over the dam, and if so, all bets are off. But if she sunk, there was something, and I've never passed a science class in my adult life, so sorry, science people, you're going to be like, oh, that's not what it's called, Nick. Well, it's because I don't know.
There's
I'm
some
doing the
type
best
of gas, right?
Yes, but the water has to be over certain degrees for 3 days for it to be warm enough for the gas to make the body float up. Now, looking at the projected weather, Skelly had it pinpointed. Sure enough, that's when she came up and she was found over by St. Mary's.
Okay.
So
I do remember that. And what was the rest of that story now that you bring it up? What
do you mean?
did they end up piecing together with how she ended up in the river?
I don't know that. I mean, I'm guessing in the accident got out. I don't know that there ever was more.
Yeah. They think she.
I mean, she drove straight through the fence.
Yeah.
And into the river.
But they never figured out exactly.
I mean, her blood alcohol level showed that she just left a bar.
Yeah.
Intoxicated.
Right, because she came from the whatever.
Yeah.
And then, so I guess it was just trying to figure out if they were ever to piece together whether it was an accident or on purpose.
Oh, no, it was an accident.
It was absolutely an accident.
No, I mean, there were people, again, that 10 rule we were talking about earlier, there were people on the internet claiming her asshole boyfriend did it.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, he was, but he didn't do that.
Yeah. That's what I remember. There was apparently a scuffle between them or something that day.
They got into it on the phone, too, right before that. I'm not sure what all the details were because I knew we weren't looking at a murder.
Yeah.
Right. But the longer something goes on, the more mouths get to blah, blah, blah.
Absolutely. And especially since this happened in the time of social media.
Oh, man.
Back.
Thanks to them, we got to talk to psychics every single day that told you where she was, that none were correct, by the way.
I'm so shocked to learn that.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I should have told you to sit down first. You know, psychics. I could do a whole hour on that.
I'm sure we could.
I can't stand them.
What? So
even though I've got to say, Christopher Meyer was found due to a psychic thing. So
really, what's the story on that?
I'm wanting to say there were rookie detectives or rookie patrolmen, maybe for the county. I don't know if it was like some back of the magazine psychic or whatever, but somehow they'd gotten a psychic's tip. And from what I gather, and if this information's wrong, it's because I was a teenager and that's the way I'm remembering it. It's not because I'm an idiot. I'm an idiot for other reasons.
Yeah.
I think they were just out ghost hunting, you know, and they found him based on that.
Because it was in the state park, right?
But I can tell you that the guy whose name rhymes with Rames Bon Cog, I've been in the room and saw how they faked the show. I'm in on it. TV psychics aren't real. Sorry, people.
Yeah. Shocker once again.
And to find out how it was done, number one, pisses me off. Because if you're going to replace existing memories of family members with these for money, who are you as a person? That's disgusting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You know, it's kind of like child molesters. Just cut them up and throw them in the river. Catfish got to eat. They didn't do anything wrong. It's just not right. You know, is there somebody out there who could predict something? Maybe, but it's not them.
Mm-hmm.
None of them are right.
Yeah,
none. Not even close.
I've always been skeptical. You know,
you really ought to be.
So,
well, as a matter of fact, let's pretend that you were going to go see a psychic.
Okay.
You know, one of them's coming to town, and you're excited. You know, the wife loves them. How do you secure tickets?
I don't know.
Well, you go online and have to pay with... How do you pay online?
A card.
Which has your name on it.
Yes.
Oh, now we're starting.
Yeah, okay.
So right off the bat, and they have clauses in there, and it's like this with some concert tickets, they're non-transferable tickets. So they know who's sitting in what seats. Yeah. Starting to get interesting, right?
Yeah.
They also have people that work for the shows that'll wear a wire, like Russell. Never let him live that down. Well, he's not alive, thank God, but whatever. They'll wear the wire, and I'll come up and go, "Hey, I'm Nick. What's your name?" Jake. Jake, have you ever seen him before? No. Oh my God, I'm so excited. Me and my sister went here one time, and she was able to connect with blah blah blah. Were you hoping to connect with anybody? Talking to my chest, please.
Yeah.
So now all they've got to do is go out in front of you and put on a show.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Once I said that, you're probably like, dang. It's so easy. It's stupid.
Yeah. No, it all, I mean, honestly, it all makes sense. So
right.
It absolutely does.
Right.
So what I want to know is, okay, from here, you know, you were doing comedy, but then when it came to the reopening of the safety center, which I think I kind of remember was that part of the benefit that was held here and at the Majestic and at some other places?
That's what it was for. It was
okay.
Here, our bar, and the Majestic.
Yeah, I remember that because I actually came here to the Looney Bin because my brother Josh played acoustic here for that benefit, I remember. And so that was around.
Okay, who's your brother?
Josh Lamore.
I guess I never put that together.
Yeah.
I went to school with Mindy Lamore forever.
Mindy, okay. I don't think I know who Mindy is.
See, that's why I don't associate people by last names because
well,
I don't know. I'm not the Huffman's catering people. I know who they are. We're not related.
Yeah, well, that's exactly it. So my dad is an only child, and then his father is an only child. So it really kind of cuts off a lot of the
right,
you know, extent. So I've got two older brothers. I'm the baby, but like I don't have a lot of close Lamore cousins. You know, like my closest Lamore cousin is like a third or fourth cousin, and he's a lot older than me. You know, so I remember that benefit. And that would have been right around like 2011-ish.
I was thinking the same thing
something
in my head.
like that.
Maybe 12 even.
Somewhere around there.
We opened in 2010.
Yeah, that's what I want to know. How did you come into play with Looney Bin? How did you
One day
how did that happen?
I was at work and I got a text from my dad. This is Dr. Judy's on sale, cheap. What do you think? How cheap? He told me and I went, yeah. Well, at the time, that's when I was doing comedy. Oh. And things were going really well there. So Dad and I talked. And he made a deal on a napkin and had her sign it.
Really?
Yes, it was that cheap. Well,
Wow.
Then we find out that we couldn't just buy the building where the bin was.
You had to buy the rest because
6 of them all on one piece of property because the creek means that you're in a flood zone, even though it hasn't flooded since what was that guy's name? Moses? Or Noah?
Noah.
Yeah, Noah.
Noah, yeah. One of those biblical guys.
Right. Yeah, I barely remember that. You know, the fact that I remember terror is impressive.
So do you still own all of these buildings on this?
Mom does. It's a weird breakdown.
Okay. So yeah.
So he and I, both of our dreams were kind of the bar business. So we wanted to go do that. Well, Mom gave no F words about the bar business, but he and I are the kind of guys that you don't put on paperwork unless you have to, because we might accidentally screw up. She won't. Dude, my mom is amazing. Like, the fact that she put up with him, sainthood, you know. Hopefully she had a little easier with me. That was a joke. Yeah,
right.
Yeah. So she was in because we were in. But so what had happened is her and I bought the business, and then Dad bought the property.
They were separate.
Correct.
Okay.
Now, when he died, the thirds went to halves, and she wanted nothing to do with it at all, so she sold. But she'd made a lot of friends here over the years. And after a couple of years, she missed it, and it was time. So she bought back, and dude, my mom's the coolest. Like, so we're partners.
Okay.
And there's nobody I'd rather be partnered up with in that sense. The other way is weird.
So you own the business, and she owns the property.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. So that's how that goes.
Okay.
Now, as far as that goes, there's no what's the right term? There doesn't seem to be much of a line there. I mean, if something needs done over there, I'll handle it and just go, hey, blah 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 blah. And likewise with this, it's not one of those things where nobody's throwing their weight around saying, well, I'm blah 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 blah.
Right. Yeah. Right.
Yeah. I mean, when it comes to renting stuff here, I'll make deals with folks. She'll make deals with folks. It's whatever.
So yeah, what are all the buildings that are encompassed here then?
Well, where we're sitting, like I said, that photo.
Yeah, let's get into that now.
This was called the North Kankakee Electric Light and Rail Club, or Rail and Light. I always have to go back and get them backwards. The trolley.
Yes.
Mr. Rogers was right here, believe it or not, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, because it was like they called it North Kankakee because they were trying to make Bourbonnais their neighbor.
Yeah,
that's where the route went. Was the route went from Kankakee to Bourbonnais.
Yeah.
And
was this do you know if this was this would have been the same electric line that Cobb's owned, right?
Cobb.
Or not Cobb. No, Emery Cobb, right? Wasn't it Emery Cobb that owned the electric line?
I have no idea.
Oh, okay.
I know that when I read about this one, it says there was another one in Kankakee that might have went a different direction.
Maybe that's the one he owned. This one was separate. That must have been the one he owned, and then this one was owned by somebody else. And you're not sure?
I'm wanting to say it was had something to do with like General Electric, and the reason I say that You see those weird looking old people?
I was going to ask you what that picture or portrait or what.
You can't see it because of the thing with the license plates.
Okay.
You'd actually have to go look, but those are 2 4x8 wooden panels that have, I think they're mobsters actually, because the one on the very left in the front looks like Babyface.
Babyface Nelson?
Yes. Do you know him by face? If so,
No, I don't think I know him by face. I mainly know him by name. I don't know if I could pick him out of the picture though.
one of the Wolfie who tattoos at one of the Kankakee places saw that and went, "That's Babyface Nelson," and I went, "Huh?" And I looked it up and I went, "Okay."
The guy all the way to the left?
To the left. You notice he's holding this? They're all holding cigarettes. I
Yeah.
never thought of them as mobsters. I thought they were people.
Yeah.
Well, once he said that, now I'm kind of looking at the other ones. And those guys in the back look pretty shady.
Yeah,
Especially
they
the
look.
one- You can't see him, but on this side, it looks like he's about to pick the woman's pocket.
Yeah. No, they look pretty serious. I mean,
After he said that, I'm going, those might actually be mobsters. But one of those panels says the words General Electric. The other one says research. Now, symmetrically, no matter which way you put it, the people don't match up. The words aren't spaced properly, which means there's at least a third panel that I've never seen. Those 2 were in this building. Where they came from, why they exist, I have no idea.
so when you guys bought the building,
those were upstairs.
These panels were here,
and I thought they were the coolest thing in the world, so I just kind of bring them
wherever you're at, and
I
that is super cool.
But I don't know what they are. I don't know what they're from, because the General Electric and Research or Research General Electric were a part of the phrase, but there's at least another panel that I don't know what it says.
Have you had anyone come look at them?
I mean, feds, I don't know any mobsters.
I just meant any local historians.
I don't know any.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess I know Greg in the museum, but that's not the trolley joint or whatever. I thought about this. When you were coming here, because I'm going to show you the building at some point and all that.
Yeah.
I've never actually been to the trolley car. I've gone to see it when it was closed.
Yeah.
But I've never actually got to check it out, and it came from here, and it's downtown at the museum.
Yeah, I was trying to remember. So I actually have seen it, and I've been inside of it.
I've seen it through the window.
Yeah. So my son's obsessed with trains, like most 4-year-olds are, right? And so we went over there to the museum one day, and one of the volunteers there walked us, through all the Pullman car and the caboose. They got out there, and he opened that building up and showed us the trolley.
Cabooses were always my favorite when I was a kid. I'd go outside my mom and be like, "Look, there's one."
Yeah, same thing here. My mom would always tell me to look for the caboose, and now they don't have cabooses anymore.
After we said that, I was thinking to myself, "When's the last time I've seen a caboose?"
Saw a caboose, yeah. I feel like my childhood was like the last of the cabooses. But anyway, so I've been inside that trolley. I've seen it, and I couldn't remember what part of Kankakee it was from. But you're telling me
that
it's from North Kankakee,
from right here.
Okay,
and right on the other side of my back office door here, that there's a spot where I trip over it all the time because I patched it up like a hillbilly. Like there's a hole in a piece of wood that I just kind of put another piece of wood and screw over the top of. That there's a bay that's probably 7 or 8 feet deep, 4 or 5 feet wide, and I don't know, 20, 25 feet long. That has something to do with the trolleys.
Man, I gotta check this out.
There used to be a disc, I guess, in the front of here, where it would turn the trolley completely around, where it would go out on route.
Yeah, that would make sense.
That's why, like I said, where we're sitting now was the front of the building where the people were standing for that photo. Now, that photo, if you look in the background, there's that apartment building, the brick one.
Yeah.
If we were to go outside, that building has not changed.
Wow.
So you could find the exact reference point of where the photo was taken and go, "Oh my God, really?"
Man. See, I never realized that all these years.
Right.
That
Most people haven't.
That, like, I always knew that this has been here for a long time, and it was always part of something from years ago, but I never knew it was part of the trolley.
Yeah, I
system.
just always thought it was a big worthless building.
Yeah, I just figured something was manufactured here at some point, or and that was that. But
No,
the fact,
yeah. So I mean, that's pretty neat.
Yeah.
So everything that we've done in the building, other than a couple sheets of plywood for this and that, has all came from within the building. Like, if you look behind me, there's windows that I've got it where Pennywise is looking through.
Oh yeah, he's looking through a window. Yeah,
underneath it you can't see it because there's stuff in the way, but there's a one that mimics that. That's got a little kid looking in the window, and they're 3-panel windows. So on the middle one you've got Pennywise's face. On the other one he's holding a balloon, and on the other one he's got a hand with an eye in it. It doesn't happen in the movies. I just wasn't sure what to do with the other hand.
Yeah.
But the bottom one that mimics it below him, there's a kid that says "help" and "me" in his hands. But those are the old windows from up front.
Oh, okay.
They're still in the building, and they were broken, and people just never threw them out. Well, what do you do with old broken iron windows? Make art.
Yeah. That's what I love is
I like incorporating things that were here into it and just kind of repurposing it.
So to kind of give you a description of the room we're sitting in right now. Well, so and Nick can get into more detail with you, but there was a fire that happened here within the last year.
Billy Joel didn't do it. He's an innocent
He didn't
man.
start the fire.
He's an innocent man.
so anyway, it left this room we're in, it left it charred. And so Nick decided to just make art of it out of it. As I mentioned earlier.
Well, three of the walls were made out of wood and drywall and whatever. One of the walls was stone and brick.
Oh, that's right.
So the one wall that was brick and stone, which we didn't know, when the fire came down, it was charred, and I went, wow. There's a broken window that, has been blocked in, but the iron is still there. There's a brick wall, and we had no idea it was like that. We left the char marks because like I said earlier, if I think a statue is stupid, I just drive by it. I don't blame Canada. Karen, take it down. Yeah, so, yes, a fire happened here. Yeah, it was horrible, but it's where we came from. So I left the char marks, and the things that are painted in it were painted in the space in between. It's just, it started, my friend Bunny was here. You can't see the top of his head now, but at the very, very top, you'll see a headless guy with a chainsaw.
Yeah.
Well, we were sitting here talking after the fire, and I went, hold on a sec. I jumped up with paint real quick. I said, that looks like Leatherface with a chainsaw. So there he is. Well, now you've got a brick wall. Okay. What do you think of when you think of the wall? The wall.
The wall,
so
okay.
You got Pink Floyd, The Wall stuff.
Yep, I see it.
I'm going to say this and step away and come back just from there here to show you something, but there was one missing brick in that wall. That was a block, okay?
Uh-huh.
Well, I had a Nightmare on Elm Street glove that, Robert Englund and I have pictures together on them that it was made by the same people who made his. Well, guess what was in the room during the fire?
That glove.
That glove.
Okay.
So in that missing block, I painted it like the furnace from Nightmare on Elm Street. So even though my glove's ruined, I put the Freddy glove in the Freddy furnace.
Okay. That's awesome. I love how you take these situations and you just you beautify them in a way. I don't know if beautified is the right word, but
one thing that I've learned throughout my life, which I haven't always been this way, it's one of the things you got to be kicked in the head enough to get the brain damage, I think, to feel this way. But like right now, 2020 sucked for everybody.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Prior to that, I snapped both of my biceps, not one, but both separate occasions. There's 5 discs in my back where the vertebrae inside of them. I can't find somebody to do surgery. It's awful. But it makes walking difficult. Since then, I've broken my chin, my neck, my elbow, my right foot, and I just tore my left ACL. It hurts, man. Everything is difficult. And there's not a moment of the day where my pain level isn't like at least an 8 out of 10. I will not take pain meds. I kind of view that as a seesaw. If you put the weight of how much everything hurts on this side, for me to make it back to normal, they have to put equal to that in stuff that I'm not putting in my body.
Yeah.
Because I know what the opioid crisis is. I'll be dead if I have to do that. So I live with it. But I am so freaking grateful to be alive. Which is weird. Because you think I'd just be like, end it.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. I don't have a death wish. I've had a hell of a run. And if it's my time, so be it. I'm happy. I'm good with it. But, I'm not trying to go that route. I just appreciate the things that I have. And I can tell you the moment where everything had changed, honestly. I'd just gone through a divorce and it was ugly. I lost my job, went to file unemployment. Couldn't get it because there was an illegal alien that stole my ID. It took 13 weeks for unemployment, which when I finally got it, because of the child support thing, was worthless. Came out to like $100 a week. Thanks, guys. So I was also, you do some stupid stuff sometimes. Well, you might not, but I do.
Oh, no. Believe me. We all have our skeletons in the closet, so
even though, life was like that, the thing about relationships or whatever are, you've got some people that catch their spouse doing something or whatever, immediately they're on Facebook crying for sympathy. No, not me. Because I realize the moment your friends and family turn, it's over. So I shut up about things for a long time. Like, I had nowhere to freaking go. I was living on the garage floor because, I'd pull my truck in there. I just didn't have nowhere to go right behind here. Because once people knew, there was no hope. Well, at one point, I just had nowhere to go and nothing to do, so I parked down by our bar, and I was down there for days fishing. I could fish forever. I don't even eat fish.
You just like fishing,
right? And I was actually across the river, sitting at a park bench. It was early in the morning, and this guy is he had to be in his 60s. A homeless guy comes up to me, and he goes, "You sure look like you can use this." And he hands me this bottle of pop that, I grew up in Bourbonnais. Our most non-Coke or Pepsi thing was like RC and then Diet Right when I was a kid. There was nothing past that.
Yeah.
Faygo maybe later. If you go to the Jewel on Washington, there's 80 flavors of things I've never seen as a kid. And this one was one of those in red, Wildwood Country Sweet. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I couldn't tell you what the name of this thing was. But if you and I went out to eat and they set this down at the table, we'd be like, dude, what in the hell is this? But at that moment, when that guy gave me this warm bottle of pop, I had tears rolling down my face because it meant more to me than anything in the freaking world. Well, why? It's the same pop that I'd have bitched about in a restaurant. It was at that moment that I realized sometimes I just have my head up my ass.
Mm-hmm.
And I learned how to appreciate everything little. So I don't think about the things that were taken. I think about the things I have.
That's always the best way to look at things.
It really is. I will not let things outside of the room I'm in affect me. I don't care if the military's kicking that door down. I'm going to enjoy my time with you until I see the whites of their eyes.
Oh, so is that what I hear behind us?
Oh no, that's
I'm just kidding.
That's T.T. Johnson, the boxer.
Is it? No, that's something I always when my head is in the right place and I'm actually appreciating what is actually at my hands or whatever space I'm in at the time, and I'm actually appreciating that, I feel so good. But then anytime I get out of that and my head gets in this bad place, I'm not happy because I'm not thinking about like what I actually have at this time is incredible.
Yeah, and at the end, so I've learned to just be happy with what I'm doing, where I'm at. Gigi, that I was talking about earlier, that owned 360.
Yeah.
She'll tell you, every year at Christmas shopping, she'd make me go with her because I was the only person she knew that could go women's clothes shopping all day long for 14 hours while she's doing this, that, and the other, and not be in a bad mood and be fun. Plus, random Nick fact, I could pick out women's clothes like nobody's ever seen. And she'd be in there changing, and I'd be like, okay, hold on. I'd go find something on sale, switch something out, and come back and be like, here, try this. And she'll go, I don't know. And then put it on. I'm like, oh my God, it's my favorite. I don't know why.
Hey, we all have our gifts, you know?
Yeah, well, mine are weird.
That's all right.
So I've learned how to be happy with what I'm doing, not with what I don't have.
Yeah.
And honest to God, to me, what's the right word? It's not wealth. Some people try to pile money, and I don't think it's having the most money that makes people happy. It's being able to do the most with what you have. Because when you're trying to acquire, it's because there's a thirst,
Yep.
There's a reason I've got to stab him 10 more times. There's this weird thing going on in your head that you're not satisfied. And I'm satisfied. I'm great. I mean, if things get better, great. But the blessings I do have, I definitely don't take for granted.
There's more positives than negatives when it comes down to it.
For sure.
Yeah.
Like I said, I definitely haven't always been that way. But I'm definitely that way now.
Yeah. And I'm sure, I would imagine, I know you stopped drinking quite some time ago now.
It was over 4 years. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and I'm sure that has probably been a part of your, journey to your present day thinking.
Maybe so. I couldn't tell you. I don't remember it.
Yeah. Well, there you go. But
it didn't bother me any, but some other folks didn't like me as much.
Why did you?
Well, it was funny. I went and saw, it was a med refill trip that you've got to go to the doctor or whatever. Says, okay, did they call you through blood test results? Because when you're fat, look, it doesn't matter what I'm going there for. You got to do blood work. Okay. Have fun, fatty. And I mean, I don't say that tongue in cheek. Like, I just told you I would love to get back surgery. Well, all they want to do is go, you need fat surgery. I've, honest to God, every time I hear it, I wad the paper up, throw them at them. I don't have the horn, beep, you, and I walk out the door. I don't want fat surgery. I don't want to be little. I'm normally a pretty good weight. I'm getting heavier because of all that stuff, when you can't really walk well or,
You're right. You're not, so you don't move around much.
Right.
Yeah.
They're like, well, if we get some weight off you, the back won't hurt so bad. And I'm looking at them going, you idiot. If you fix the back, the weight won't be there. I don't put Band-Aids over cancer, Thank God I don't have cancer or Band-Aids.
Yeah, thank God.
For sure. But I'd rather just fix the problem. The last time that I could show you a picture of it, my back at one point, the spinal cord's hanging on by a thread. And It's St. Mary's. I don't know how to pronounce his name. It looks like Moron, but I think it's Moran. That doctor laughed in my face. In my face. Said, so when are we going to fix this? And I threw my arms up. I'm like, exactly, man. What's up? Because I thought that I was finally going to get it done. The shift change got me. The doctor on call before him looked at my back and went, oh, my God, we need to take care of this now. Shift change comes. I get laughed at. Called fat and told to leave. I mean, I can get shot 9 times. And the doctors will be like, yeah, well, if you weren't so fat, they'd have missed you. That's how medical care is. Sad but true.
Yeah.
So blood work. She goes, so they call you about your blood work? Yeah. And I was like, I don't know. And then I just went and did Nick stuff. No, like the triglycerides? Yeah, they told me. Look, I don't know what a triglyceride is. So when you're like, hey, your triglycerides are a 5, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, okay, cool. So what are you doing? Unless you tell me it's a problem, I don't know that it's a problem. Well, she looked at me and said, your triglycerides are currently at a fatal level you've seen your last Christmas. And I didn't mean it as rude as it came out, but immediately, like, I snapped back. I said, F you. And she goes, excuse me? And I'm like, you don't tell me when to die. I do that. I quit drinking right then.
Okay.
You know? Well, that weekend, because I had plans with friends. And I told everybody, I said, I'm going to go out this weekend, have fun. I'm done. You're not going to do that. You're going to make excuses like, nah. Shut up, Karen. Ladies and gentlemen, don't name your kids Karen. Nobody likes them.
I was going to say, there's not many Karens being named, I don't think, right now.
Hopefully we've stopped them from that.
But I feel bad for the good Karens out there, because I have met some wonderful Karens over the years.
They're older, you know. I mean, who's the youngest Karen you've met? Right.
Mid 30s.
Yeah.
I think mid to late 30s.
Oh, those mean parents.
Yeah. Something that's I don't think I've met a Karen younger than that I can think of. But anyway,
I'd want to get back to something though.
Yeah.
Because
there's so many things to talk about. It's hard.
When after Dad had gotten out of jail, he gave me his Bible, which sounds like something that would be something you'd treasure. He never used it. It was brand new. You could tell. You know, it just happened to be with him. But every time that I would open it, and like if I were to go, hey, man, check this out and open it, it's not going to work. If I bet you $5 it won't work. But if I were to grab the book and flop it open, it would always be the exact same page, which was Luke chapter 21. When I went out to California for a bit, same thing. The Gideons come along, they hand you the Bibles, same thing. So I've read this chapter over and over and over and over throughout my life. And like I thought something was there was some kind of message, you know? And as a matter of fact,
is it in your book?
Oh, see, I wouldn't even bring that up. I just cheated, and the thing's in here, so I knew where to find it, so I could read it word for word.
Sorry, I didn't mean to call you out.
Oh, you got me. But no, actually, the longest chapter in this book, probably double any other.
The Bible?
It's called Luke chapter 21.
Oh, okay.
Because I told that story about the pop in here, but the thing is, like, I wrote all the stories. I couldn't tell you what order they're in because I wrote it. I don't read it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know, I don't love me that much.
Yeah. Yeah. Usually, right. I don't think I would read a book I wrote.
No, but I tell you what, when I drove the short bus I was talking about,
mm-hmm.
there were these blind ladies that were super cool. They were excited about the new iPhone. I was like the iPhone 4 or 5 at the time, because that phone was going to read things to them in this voice that they were unable to know existed prior. So they experienced it like we do. Well, it hit me after I was writing this book, because I for whatever reason, I can write really well. I was hatched that way. I didn't try. One of them gift deals. I figured it'd be fine. But to proofread, One day I went, wait a minute, if blind chicks can use this, so can lazy dudes. So I started having it read back to me in that voice. Then I realized I can make the voice a British chick. And it was just on. I thought that was the funniest thing in the world to have my stuff read back. So I did it like that. Well, what, okay, I'm going to read you exactly what I've read over and over and over. Luke chapter 21. You see, nobody saw this coming, did they?
No.
Me reading the Bible to you.
No, I didn't see it coming.
I ain't either. Well done, JC. We're still going to fight it out when I see you, but we can hug it out afterwards. Because some of this is just BS. Okay. Okay, to preface what this was talking about, there was a temple, and people were bringing gifts. Okay. And it says, and he looked up and saw the rich men casting their gifts into the treasury. The lighting in here is awful. By the way, that's why it's taking me a minute to read. I'm not actually that slow.
You need
yeah, perfect, actually.
Yeah.
This room does have a light switch, too, believe it or not. Okay, cool. And he also saw a poor widow casting in thither 2 mites. And he said, of a truth I say unto you, that this poor widow is cast in more than they all. For all these have their abundance cast into the offerings of God, but she of, I don't know what those words mean, but it means she doesn't have much, is cast in all the living that she had. And as some spoke of the temple and how it was adorned with godly stones and gifts, is for these things which you behold, the days will come in which they shall not be left one stone upon another, they shall not be thrown down. And after this, like it starts to go weird, and the whole world kind of falls apart and whatever. Well, the point of that being, people were bringing all these beautiful things to the temple that are worth money, gold, treasure, whatever. Then this woman brings these things that were deemed useless by everyone else, and she was mocked. But those things were the most valuable things that were brought because it's all that she had. And when I was drinking that pop, it hit me. And that's when my perspective, boom.
Okay.
It all fell in. It's like, I wish somebody would try to tell me this before.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and sometimes I feel like people do try to tell you that, but it's not really something that, like you can sit here and tell me this right now, and it's automatically going to click in my brain. It's like you almost have to have that realization on your own.
Well, it was my friend Shasta was sitting right about there in the old back room, and she's like, God, you're so much different, but in a good way. What happened? And I told her the story about that pop. And what she said to me, she goes, so what you're saying is the guy who had nothing gave you what he'd had, and it meant everything. And I shot up out of my chair and I said, what'd you just say to me? When I heard her put it into context like that, it hit me, the message that was trying to be put in my head forever.
From that Bible chapter,
Yep.
that chapter, Luke, right?
Luke chapter 21.
Luke chapter 21. Just kept opening up to that
And
somehow.
It's drove me nuts since I was a young teen.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah, and I'd read it over and over and over, and like I said, then the world ends, and I don't know what's going on. It's chaos and it's weird.
Yeah.
Now
but obviously,
oh, here we are.
And yeah, here we are. Yeah. But the takeaway from that is so, and sometimes it takes you that long to like really understand like what something really means.
I mean, if you don't work for it, it usually doesn't mean much.
Yeah. It's anything worthwhile usually is worth working for or requires work. Anything worthwhile requires work. You can't just have it,
Unless it's JR's Chicken. I
Unless
think they're an
it's
exception.
JR's Chicken.
I think they're an exception to this.
That's a given. I mean, we can go there and just, and in a snap of the fingers have, fried chicken. So,
People, because they know I love it, every now and then, I don't even know who brings it sometimes. I'll be back here doing something, and one of the girls will walk back here and be like, "I got chicken." Like, from who? And they're like, "I don't know." Somebody's walking in and brought it.
Someone just, yeah. Oh,
and
that's good.
whenever that happens, it makes me smile so big. And I can eat like 20 pieces of that if any of y'all's listening.
Okay. Once this episode is out, you're going to have like 20 or more people delivering chicken. And they're just going to have like this big fried chicken party at Looney Bin.
If so, I mean, I don't know how else to say this, but I love you.
Oh, you're so sweet. So, I mean, it's like, Looney Bin, if you're not familiar, there's been quite a few well-known national artists to have stepped foot through these doors, whether it was a band or someone from some other type of entertainment industry. There's been so many different people that have come through these doors since you've, bought the place and made it the Looney Bin.
Weird.
It's bizarre.
It's weird.
Yeah. But it's so cool to say that. And there's a certain part of the community that still hasn't realized that, Screech from Saved by the Bell was here, or we could
right
go
after
on.
he got out of prison. Like, he and I were in this back room. I had just gotten the spear that was a cane that somebody gave to me, and he and I are throwing the spear and having a good old time back here. And I'm just laughing because he stabbed somebody. I thought, like, the whole time I'm giggling, thinking I shouldn't be allowed to do this.
You shouldn't be. Yeah, that is. God, there's so much irony there.
Right.
Man.
I am so glad these balls cannot talk. Just because, there's things that, again, beyond grateful that I've got to see. But I don't tell other people's stories either.
Yeah, I feel like...
Unless it's Shake the Snakes, because one of them is my favorite, and it's not appropriate for this podcast. But it's my favorite story.
I feel like that's almost like a whole separate podcast episode just on the stories that have happened and the things that have happened at Looney Bin. I mean...
Well, honestly, like, that book's got 40 stories in it. There's none of them about that.
Really?
None.
None that revolve around Looney Bin and the shows that have happened here?
Not at all. There's things, of course, that would intersect in and out of here.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing, if you read the forward or whatever it's called, where somebody else talks in the beginning of a book, I don't even read books. Like I said, I was just kind of forced into doing this. Ande Wagner is the one who got me to do it. I've known her since first grade. My first memory of her is her punching me in the arm because she caught me copying off of her in math. How? Because where it said name, it said Ande, not Nick, on my paper. Yeah, I'm dumb. So I've known her that long, and at our 20-year reunion, she wouldn't let go of it. The concept of that I needed to write a book, and I kept telling her nobody is gonna read it. Why? Why am I gonna do that? And she hands me this book called I Hope They Serve Beer in Hell.
Oh yeah, that was a popular one.
And see, I'd never heard of it. But I'm pop culture illiterate. Not just read the regular one.
I've never read it, but I remember when so many people were reading it.
She asked me what I thought, and I thumbed through it. And I go, I think it's garbage. This guy can't write. He's a douchebag. He blows up his own ego. Like right here, he calls this girl his Wednesday thing. He didn't have to say that about her. He's saying that about himself, but using her, I don't like him, and his stories aren't that good. And then she goes, because for whatever reason, like I said, I could write. They'd give you those tests in school where you had to fill in 7,000 little circles, and then you had to write one creative writing
essay. I
was always in the top 1/2 of the top 1% of the nation on that.
Wow.
The rest of it,
was just
probably got the he tried badge. Like, here's a cookie, dummy. Nice writing.
Nice try.
So again, I don't know why. I just can. And she knows that. She's like, Nick, you're probably the best writer I know, and I know your stories are real. I've seen them. Okay, I mean, I'll give you that, but still, I didn't believe there was an audience. Nobody's going to buy this crap. And I'm thinking even with everybody drinking on Broadway, I don't know if I could sell 3 of them. You know? And what did it for me was when I saw that and she showed me how big it was, I was like, I can outright this dude in my sleep. Which is why, after the main title, the subtitle is Hell Already Served Beer. Now it'll actually be funny. That's a straight dig that I could do it better than him. I even said it in the foreword. I said I
Did you send a copy to the author of
no.
I Hope They Serve Beer in Hell?
No, I don't care about him enough.
Maybe someone else has sent him a copy. By this point.
Somebody else showed me something where they did something, and I was like, okay, that's cool. I don't remember what it was because at the end of the day, anybody who refers to her as his, the Wednesday fling, I really don't care what their opinion is. Mm-hmm. He didn't earn one. But that was the measure I went. If that could do that, I'm not saying that. And this is exactly what I said in the reply to her in the forward or whatever it's called, the eulogy. I don't know.
I'm pretty sure it's forward.
I'm not saying that this book is going to be better, but I'm going to Babe Ruth right now and say I will write a better book. But I'm going to use 0 of the stories anybody expects. You're not going to hear anything about pranks or the bin or rock and roll stories. It's all going to be other. And then, if it works out, now we've got something to talk about in number 2.
Okay. So you're working on another book already? Or you haven't?
Because of the title, which contains the F word.
Yeah, F-man.
And the reason it does, it's not because that's a thing that I do. It's that after things like the fire, I'll take a deep breath and I'll be like, man.
Right.
And I realized I do that. And I went, man, that's just such a natural title.
You. Yeah.
Well, because of that, I kind of shot myself in the foot because $0 in advertising have been spent on it because Amazon, Google, Facebook, and none of them will take a penny because of the title. There was a big press release that actually tried to go out, rejected by all 300 some agencies because of the title. It's had no press. I was supposed to do one of my favorite podcasts, Sean Six's Liquid Episodes, and I was sick, and I wasn't able to do it that night, so I missed it. Alex from MK Ultra had me on, but that's been it for promo. And word of mouth made it hit number 1 on Amazon in 2 categories for 3.5 weeks, which were performing arts and humor essays. How? I don't know.
That's pretty incredible. It's because so many people know you, man.
I guess, but it's weird.
And I'm sure, obviously, I have not read it yet, but I'm gonna read it now, and I'm sure I'm gonna be like, oh my god! I'm probably gonna say that a billion times.
And if anybody wants to, it's if you go to Amazon, the Kindle version, I won't let them charge for that. Because to me, if I want an album, don't get me wrong, Spotify is handy and I'll listen to it, but I'm still going to buy the album, and I want to read the liner notes before I listen to it. I'm one of those people.
Yeah, yeah.
So to me, a book on a screen isn't a book.
No.
You can go read it for free. I don't care.
Yeah.
But if you want a real one, it's on there. Mm-hmm. It's unreal. The feedback's been ridiculously overwhelming. When we ordered the initial ones for here, because Amazon, they print as they go.
I was gonna say they print their own, right?
I didn't even want to pick a number because I didn't have any idea of. 50 to me is crazy that we would sell those.
Well, how many did you end up getting printed?
Mom, what do you think? Because then it's her fault. See what I did there? 225 of them, and I went, okay. There's literally 1 left.
Wow.
And I went, oh man, we got to order some, huh? Weird. And online, I get confused looking at Amazon reports, but there's thousands. I know that. because between the Kindle and the real one, in graphs, I'm like, math teacher. You know, there isn't just a one-stop, all-inclusive report with a number. It's all over the place. And plus, this is actually a fun story. My buddy Jason Ward's dating a girl in England named Deb. She called me at like 11 p.m. our time a few weeks back. She goes, "You are not going to believe this. What's up?" So I'm out with a friend, and somehow books came up, and I mentioned that I was reading yours. And she goes, "So is my husband." And I said, wait, what? Because I've been getting emails. There's Amazon for the U.S., but for royalties, for other countries, I actually have to go to Amazon England, and I've never done any of that because I figure if something's been sold in England, what? I got a nickel?
Yeah.
Me spending the 38 minutes to figure out how to log in and do that isn't worth a nickel, so I just haven't done it. Apparently, it's doing something in England.
Wow.
Yeah. And I feel weird saying that.
Book tour in England. Let's let's book it.
Yeah, I mean, I did start the other one. The first page is probably the funniest thing in the world.
Yeah,
I honestly believe it. Everybody who's read it that I've showed the first page to, like, they belly laugh and do the side grab thing because it's probably that funny. And I wrote one story. It's about green poop.
Okay. Okay. All right.
It's something I remember from being a kid at Shibona. There was a sink pooper, and they were trying to figure out who it was.
Oh, my gosh.
And they racially profiled the kid.
Oh,
I kid you not,
man.
because apparently purple Kool-Aid makes green poop. And that's how he was caught. And I was thinking of how screwed up stuff was back then.
Wow.
So I actually wrote a story about our school doing racial profiling, and profiling is wrong.
That is messed
Unless
up.
you're trying to find the green poop guy because it works. But,
Yeah.
you know.
Wow.
Right.
Man. Yeah, that's some serious racial profiling right there.
I'll never forget it. You know?
Yeah, that's something you would
They
never
actually
forget, yeah.
pulled the black kids aside.
Really?
In the commons area at Shibona, and because of purple freaking Kool-Aid.
Wow.
Which, you know,
that's wrong on so many levels. Can you imagine if that happened today?
No,
Man.
I cannot.
Oh my God.
I remember there were a couple kids that started our class after the class had started. One of them I'm still friends with. But when she was introduced to us, it was the new black student by the teacher. We also sent Ronald Reagan a bunch of jelly beans, and he sent us some signed pictures back with his dog's paw prints. But can you imagine trying to send the president jelly beans now?
Yeah. Oh, God.
The feds would be, oh, my God.
Yeah, they'd be like, oh, what's this?
And our president's like, thanks for the jelly beans, kids.
Yeah. Yeah.
What the hell?
Man. Yeah, things have changed, that's for sure.
My God, yes.
Well, what should... I don't know. How do we close this out? I mean, how does Nick Huffman close out this episode?
Oh, that's my job?
I don't know. There's just so many, like I said, I feel like we could go on forever.
I literally can.
I know we can. It's been 2 hours at this point.
Has it really?
Yeah. It's already been 2 hours. So currently,
you know what?
what's
I tell you what, I'm going to have you read something out of this book.
Okay.
Because it's, you know, there's a foreword, but then there's the opposite of that, like the end word.
Mm-hmm.
End word with a D. That might not have sounded correct because I wasn't near the mic. I just wanted to clarify. An epilogue, that's what it's called. To me, you know, the book's got 40 stories. There's a lot of nonsense in there. But how I ended it, I find to be the most appropriate ending, maybe, for everything. So, and he hasn't read it yet.
No, I haven't.
But, so this will pique his interest as well.
Okay. So
I'm going to turn the regular light
Oh,
on.
okay. All right. So I'm reading this out loud. I'm reading this out. Okay. All right. I'll wait until you're sitting down.
Oh, go ahead. I'm stretching my leg.
Okay. All right. If you've made it this far, congrats. You're already aware that I'm not a doctor, nor am I a scientist. Hell, I'm just some idiot in Bradley, Illinois. But this idiot has been through some stuff. Because of it, I can certainly give expert testimony to things I would normally be unqualified for because of my lack of a degree. It is from that area that I'm going to close this book. First off, you're going to be okay. It may not feel like it right now. You may feel hopeless. It may feel like every possible thing could go wrong does. That's okay. Trust the plan. Psalm 46:10 is by far my favorite one. It starts off with two simple words. Be still. As Pastor Dixon says, don't make your move too soon. The majority of mistakes that people seem to make are because they made their move too soon. Man, isn't that true?
That Pastor Dixon, by the way, in Sun River Terrace, Mount Calvary, is amazing.
Okay.
I don't even think he knows that's in there.
He might know.
But he streams every Sunday. If anybody Bible studies on Wednesday, if anybody wants to watch online.
Oh, okay. All right. So if you were able to look at your own life through someone else's eyes and analyze your problems, you'd realize just how stupid some of them really are. One night after Metallica played Soldier Field with Local H, we were walking back to the parking garage. We, meaning Nicole, as in some of you know as the Looney Bin house photographer, Nicole Anders?
Yep, and right? The girl on the phone, and those two.
Okay.
Yep.
She's taken some wonderful pictures of me. Thank you, Nicole. She's great. She caught a picture of me jumping midair with my guitar, and that's one of my favorite pictures of all time. So thank you, Nicole. She and I had been friends since we were only 1 year old. I don't think she cares much for me anymore, but I still love her with all my damned heart. Besides Nicole and me, there was Tana and Corey. When we were to go into the building that we had to enter, to take an escalator to the crosswalk that goes across Lakeshore Drive, bringing us to another building, which we had to exit to get to the building where our vehicle was, we found the building was locked. It was at that moment that we hit the realization we had no way to get our vehicle, meaning we were stuck in Chicago in a parking lot all night long with no vehicle. I shrugged my shoulders, sat down in the grass, said something that my buddy Scott Green from Louisiana always says. Sometimes worst case scenario ain't all that bad. What did we have to be mad about? I was there with three of my favorite human beings on this planet for the night. That's not traumatic. That's not terrible. Honestly, it would have been something that I would have loved to have done and planned, but instead, it just sort of happened. The reality of our situation was not one to be upset over in the least bit. None of us were angry. We all just made the best of it. It ended up being somewhat of a rowdy night, and we got back to our car, which is irrelevant. I painted the picture for context, not integrity. My point being, it's not usually the reality of the situation that's actually bad. It's because that situation isn't what you expected it to be. See who the problem actually is? You. I would bet the vast majority of your favorite things in life are only a part of your life to begin with because something didn't go the way you planned it, or because you made a mistake. And that's where the best stuff comes from. Stop measuring reality versus your own expectations of it. In the end, you're the one who is you. When dealing with people, especially a partner, never focus on the things they don't bring to the table. If you do that, it's a rabbit hole that you won't come back from. Instead, look at that person like a kid looks at their presents on Christmas morning. They're not upset about the things that aren't in the room. They're smiling because of what is. If it seems like you can't take any more, you're wrong. You can. And you'll be better because of it. You'll never truly understand pleasure without feeling pain. There would be no context. You'll never know the value of a $100 bill unless you've flipped your floor mats looking for change to buy gas to get to work. The secret is all around you, starting with the basic human cell. It dies every 24 hours, rejuvenates itself, and comes back stronger. That's the blueprint to life. Look at everything. If you want your hair to grow, cut it. Bone breaks, come back stronger. Tree dies in winter, they come back bigger and stronger in the spring. You are no different. Every time you break, you get stronger. You appreciate more. Life gets better. I hope you enjoy yours. You're the only one living it. Thank you for taking the time to read a bit of mine. Oh, that's, yeah. I love how you're so sincere, then you just drop the...
Yeah, I had to.
That's you're right. That's a great way to end this this episode.
It's
perspective is everything. Yes, absolutely.
I can tell you that the bottom of this table is blue, and you know what blue looks like.
Yeah,
but you don't know exactly what I just said until you fall on the floor.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely true. Got no way to follow that up. So that's well written. I could not agree more, man. It really all comes down to perspective. You know, the half glass full, half empty thing. There's so many ways you could look at situations, and I love the way you look at it.
I look at a glass like it's entirely full, just now with what you are trained to see.
Yeah. Yep.
Air counts.
Yep, it does. It really does. At the end of the day, it absolutely does.
If 2020 taught us anything.
Yeah.
I'm drinking that glass through a mask.
Yeah. I almost did that one time.
I don't think that'd work.
Yeah, no, I don't think so either. Well, Nick Huffman, thank you so much for being on Kankakee Podcast.
Thanks for having me. It means the world to me that you did. I appreciate that, and I appreciate everybody who's still there listening.
Yeah.
Thank you both.
Yeah, I think they've been at the edge of their seats this whole time because there's still so much more to be said, and maybe we'll get to more of that someday.
If you're bored enough, I'm not terribly hard to find.
No, that's true. You aren't. But no. Thanks again for doing this.
Yep, thank you. You're doing a great job. I mean that.
Thank you. That seriously means a lot. I really appreciate it. So shortly after Nick and I got done recording, guess what showed up in his office? Fried chicken. Yep, you were right. It was so funny. We had a good laugh about it. If you were able to hear his phone going off during the episode, I believe that was the friend that was trying to get a hold of him and texting him and saying, "Hey, I got fried chicken for you." So he was right. Randomly gets fried chicken just dropped off at the Looney bin. So I'm expecting after this episode to be released that a lot of people will be bringing Nick Huffman fried chicken there. I'm Jake Lamore. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Kankakee Podcast. It truly means the world to me. I've been getting different comments and emails, and we've been getting sponsors for the show from people I never thought I would hear from, and I'm just completely blown away by it. I really am so humbled and so honored to have you listening to this podcast right now and supporting it. So thank you from the bottom of my heart. If you haven't done so already, make sure you follow us on social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram at Kankakee Podcast. You can also listen to previous episodes at kankakeepodcast.com or wherever it is that you listen to podcasts. And if you do want to become a sponsor, you can get more details at kankakeypodcast.com as well. And don't forget to sign up for our mailing list too, because I'll send you an email every single week when a new episode drops. So have a wonderful rest of the day, evening, or afternoon, whatever time of day it is that you're listening to this. And I will talk with you next Monday here on Kankakee Podcast. Our theme song is by Lupe Carroll.
People tend to stick to you